Hello and good evening, everyone. Welcome to this week's new episode of Primetime Gaming with Mr. BoomStick and Friends. And of course, I brought the posse as always. We have a special guest joining us. We have some Killer Instinct footage. We actually have me playing Elden Ring footage for the second half. And man, I'm enjoying that game quite a bit. To Keasante's shockingness of it all. I have been converted now. I actually had people ask me, "Hey, Boom, which souls are you going to play next?" And the answer is none. If I'm going to play anything after this, and I don't even think I'm going to beat this because this game is very difficult. I'm going to probably pick up Sekiro and potentially Bloodborne. And those are the two that I will play because those are fast. And this game is, if you pick a bruiser of a character, you're going to be a little bit slow. I picked the samurai. I'm quite enjoying it. I fought, I don't know, 12 or 14 hours in. I'm level 20. I fought too many bosses. I'm at a big main boss right now that's beat me a couple of times, but I figured out how to outlast him. I just got to get a chance to play. But listen, folks, we have an incredible show for you. This obviously we're going to be talking about some comments brought to my attention by our special guest, John Wolf, regarding Ed Boon. Folks, I have a strong suspicion based on what he said that there is a good chance that the game that he is working on that is not Mortal Kombat could very well be a Killer Instinct reboot. I have some tweets from him and Phil Spencer over the years, going all the way back to 2016. And listen, if you know anything about Ed Boon, he loves Killer Instinct. And more so, he loves tweeting about Killer Instinct. So I kind of think that there's, 1 and 1 equals 2 plus 3. I don't know. We're going to find out. And of course, to back end the conversation of tonight, Micheal Pachter, former glory boy of analysts within gaming, who has taken a long walk off a very, very deep pier. He said some things that has a lot of people scratching their heads. I don't know. I mean, listen, everyone's entitled to their opinion. So of course, we're not throwing him under a bus, but the way he did say it was as a matter of fact that it is going to happen. As a matter of fact, he actually said something in that video that was on his paywalled show, The Factor Pachter, that we're going to come back to him at some point, and he's going to be proven correct. I'm going to read what he had to say. Not only do I think it's preposterous, I have to say that I personally wouldn't throw myself out there and make these bold claims as if he knows what he is talking about when it comes to this near $70 billion deal between Microsoft, Activision, and Blizzard. Again, we're going to get into that, but let's get into the introductions, and we'll start first with John Wolf, our special guest. John, welcome back to the program, brother.
Thanks, Boom. Thanks for having me tonight. I look forward to chatting with everybody about these topics. As always, it's always an honor whenever you invite me on your show, man, and I really do appreciate it. And yeah, let's have some fun.
Yeah, we're Everborn Saga, folks. FYI, he's stuck in traffic. He will be with us momentarily, but we do have the rest of the crew here for you. Keasante, what's going on, brother? How are you?
Good evening, everybody. Oh, I'm doing absolutely great this evening. I'm actually enjoying all the wonderful conversations that are being had about the latest and greatest news stories. There's a lot of spiciness tonight. Welcome back, John. Appreciate having you here, and I'm looking forward to getting into it. So let's get started.
Yeah, well, real quick, folks, if you missed his Saturday show of the Gaming Circle podcast, he had none other than the incredible and extremely talented Delilah HD on to really break down a lot of the topics surrounding Horizon Zero Dawn. Quite frankly, it was very, very interesting. And, obviously, if you did miss it live, definitely get over to his channel and give that a watch. Well worth your time.
Appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure. Absolutely, brother. Wandering Dutch, brother. How the heck are you? And how are the preparations going on the big indie situation that we're going to be all being a part of later on this year?
Yes. So a couple of months away now, but preparations are going well. Intro's done. Starting to get some videos together, speaking to indie devs, so it is going very well indeed. All of the creators know what they need to do now and what I'm required from them. So it's looking awesome. I did also say before the show, Boom, that I was saving one particular F-bomb for a specific gentleman. And I will use that F-bomb at the beginning of this show. I'm sure a lot of people will agree with this sentiment, but fuck Vladimir Putin. He can go rot.
Yes, sir.
Indeed.
Well, use of the F-bomb. Good use.
Yep.
Good use.
Yeah, of course, as you know, we stand firmly with the people of Ukraine and everything that's going on there, and of course, the more people that stand behind it, and obviously bring light to the situation over there and support the Ukrainians, the better. I hope personally that NATO do a little bit more in terms of bringing them into the EU officially, so they get a bit more support. But I think Putin's just lost his marbles a bit. That aside, of course, back to the good stuff. Awesome to be back on the show. Of course, first time with John Wolf, actually. So nice to meet you.
You too,
and
brother.
I'm looking forward to getting into another guy who didn't warrant the F-bomb tonight, but will get a lot of heat. And that is that second topic. I'm looking forward to that one.
Yeah, so am I. And you know, it's funny. You know, when I write these shows, I usually do it days in advance to prepare, because obviously it's important to everyone to be well versed into the conversations that we're going to have. And I wound up calling an audible because I watched Hogue Law's new video, which, again, I'm a big fan of Hogue. He's also a friend of the program, friend of the community. His video, which I highly recommend you give it a good watch, is in the show notes. It's his link for that video is there. And I'm sure that after the conversation, after what you hear, what Pachter had to say, not only are you going to be scratching your head, but you're going to want to hear what Hogue had to say in regards to it. And Hogue is, in that video, says that he is 80+% sure that the deal is going to go down with no sanctions, or no, as he called it, consent decrees. And we're going to break down what those consent decrees are. And like I said, folks, it is what he proposed was nothing short of madness. But again, I digress. We are going to get into it. Let me continue. The Mag, listen,
Yes, sir.
Mag, you obviously will have a lot to say about this. In the loudest voice possible, and we're expecting no other. How have you been, man? How's everything?
Very good. Glad to be on the show tonight, guys. Of course, with our illustrious panel, we got the chat, and of course, we got John Wolf in here tonight, which I did have the pleasure of working with. But it's been a long time, my friend. I think it's been, oh my God, like a year and a half. It's got to be somewhere around there. But yes, but anyways, guess what? You know what? We're going to have a great show tonight. We got some great things to talk about. And, we're actually, ironically, not going to be talking about Elden Ring to the,
dismay of chaos.
I was about to say to the dismay of the
When
head.
When did I become the Elden Ring party pooper in here?
Well,
Calm
you know
down.
why? I'll tell you why I saw that. Because when Boom was talking about it, all I saw was this.
No.
I just saw the shaking head in the corner. I'm like, really?
I feel like it's the Borg. You know what I'm saying?
You know what? You're not wrong.
Resistance is futile.
I know. You're not wrong, because it's almost like the FOMO train is going full tilt, right? And you got a point there, but at the same time, damn, it's never good. But anyways, we got a show for you guys tonight. Let's get right into it.
Well, as a matter of fact, second half of the show, I have an hour plus footage of Elden Ring.
Perfect.
There you go, Kay. There you go, Kay.
So as Kay is watching it, the FOMO is going to set in, and he's going to be like, "Listen, I don't know what I'm doing here."
97.
And he's going to leave the podcast. Listen, folks, let's get into a subject that I am never going to tire about talking about. There's actually two particular IPs that hold an incredible special place in my heart. Banjo-Kazooie being one of them, because I'm a platform dude, have been since I was a kid, and will continue to push the envelope until Papa Spencer answers the call. And I believe that is coming. Toys for Bob is obviously going to be a part of Xbox Game Studios. They have already expressed on numerous occasions that they personally would love to bring the Bird and Bear back. And obviously we know that Rare is not going to do it. They don't want to return to old IPs, and that's perfectly fine. I at this point, let Toys for Bob do what they do best and make incredible platformers. So that's coming. Well, folks, listen, here we go. Let's get into the skinny. John Wolf, obviously, who was a part of today's program, did something for the show. He dropped a quote from Ed Boon himself. Now, this happened late last week, and this comes directly from Ed Boon, folks, so be prepared. He says this, and I quote, "I can say that for 10 years, we've been releasing Mortal Kombat and Injustice. Mortal Kombat and Injustice. When we broke that pattern, there were a lot of speculations on what we would be doing next. I can tell you there was a reason for it. And when we announce our next game, it'll make a lot more sense. At this point, I'll get in a lot of trouble if I continue to say anything more." Now, let's bring in the evidence, folks. Let's talk about how Ed Boon himself has constantly and consistently talked about Mortal Kombat versus Killer Instinct, potentially actually stopping a Mortal Kombat, stop working on a Mortal Kombat game to work on a Killer Instinct, which is what I believe happened. This happened in June of 2016, a conversation between him and, of course, head of Microsoft Gaming now, Phil Spencer. And this is what Ed Boon had to say on Twitter. "I loves me some KI, but a crossover would have to be an Xbox exclusive." And then shortly after that, Phil Spencer on Twitter responded directly to Ed Boon saying, "I love this idea." But that's not where it stops, folks. As a matter of fact, during Comic-Con of that year, or one of the cons from March 19th of 2016, he took a photo of someone dressed as Scorpion and someone dressed, I guess she's like a ghost for Killer Instinct. And he said this, Mortal Kombat versus Killer Instinct confirmed, hashtag K2E2. And of course, there's been numerous times where Ed Boon, even recently, has talked up Killer Instinct. And one of those conversations was, in fact, that if he had an opportunity to make a new Killer Instinct, he would actually stop what he was doing on Mortal Kombat. Now, from what we understand, Mortal Kombat 12, which is going to be the sequel, and it's going to be a big one, has been put on hiatus. Injustice 3 has also been on hiatus, and we know that they're working on an unannounced new project. I seem to believe, and again, this is just my fanboyism, if you will, that it's going to be Killer Instinct. I have a strong suspicion, and I'm sorry that we don't have Everborn Saga here just yet, but this is where, again, folks, get ready, because this is how I envision this being announced. And I could be wrong. More than likely, I'm wrong, but I'm going to go out with a bang, and here it goes. This year, upcoming E3, whatever that's going to look like, it's not going to be called E3, but Microsoft is still going to have their show. Phil Spencer is going to get up there, and he's going to make a couple of big blockbuster announcements. And one of the announcements is that he's going to be on stage, and he's going to welcome in Ed Boon. And Ed Boon's going to come up the same way that other studio heads have come up before they were announced as acquisitions. And he's going to say, "Hey, Ed, listen, you have something that you want to tell our fans." And he's going to come out and he's going to say, "Well, listen, yes, as a matter of fact, I have two special announcements. The first one is going to be that I'm happy to announce that we have joined Xbox Game Studios. Mortal Kombat has become first party." And then he's going to say, "Take a look at this trailer." And he's going to go like this, and it's going to be Killer Instinct Reboot. And that's how I got goosebumps. I know I'm giving people goosebumps, and near 200 people already here. I think that's how it's going to happen. Again, I, along with a few people that will remain nameless, were privy to a document that was floating around the interwebs last year, where it was confirmed based on this documentation, and obviously Jez Corden himself from Windows Central saw it, that showed that TT Games or Traveler's Tales, along with NetherRealm Studios, were up for a sale separately or potentially at the same time. It looks like Microsoft could have been in line for that. Again, this is my speculation. I want to go first to John Wolf, our special guest. John, this is, look, we all believe, and now we're starting to hear from other people. In Asante, I believe you talked about that today, that someone had said something about Street Fighter 6 being exclusive. You made a mention of someone else, so we'll come to you on that. It is believed that Street Fighter 6 is going to be exclusive. And by what that tells me is good luck of ever getting a Street Fighter ever again on an Xbox. That's, so we saw 5 get locked down as an exclusive, still hasn't come to any other platform. And eventually, I believe 6 is going to follow the same way. As great as Killer Instinct is, and as much as I want a sequel to this game, it's hard to imagine that Street Fighter has been taken off the board. I said this to Asante privately. Look, I'm not doing the tit for tat thing. We don't do that on this program. I don't say when Microsoft does something, Sony should do something, and vice versa. There is a point of contention where Microsoft has to get their hands out from underneath them and make a move in the fighting game genre. You cannot allow, they already have Guilty Gear, they already have Blaze Blue, and now they have Street Fighter. Those are 3 monster IPs that are locked behind Sony. And SNK usually doesn't release anything. They just did with King of Fighters, which was shocking. But if you're going to go up head-to-head with Sony in your Evo versus Smash GG, you need to have a couple of big boys in there, if you will. Killer Instinct, a new one, which is rumored, thanks to a special Nick over at the Xbox Era. He made that announcement about a month ago that he believes that it is, in fact, in active development. And even then, he said he didn't think at the time that it was that the makers of Mortal Kombat. I seem to differ now based on what Ed Boon said. How important do you think it would be for Microsoft to lock up Mortal Kombat as first party?
Yeah, I think that it's definitely something that Microsoft should consider, especially taking in light of everything that you mentioned with Sony kind of having a stronghold on the fighting game genre. To go back to how you originally started, right? You provided a lot of evidence. That comment that Ed Boon made, I found it very interesting because at the end, especially the part that he mentioned about him getting in trouble. Now, maybe we could take it for face value. Maybe we can say, "Oh, I'll get in trouble with WB Games if I mention something too early." But I don't know. That's not really Ed Boon's style. He likes teasing and always clowning the fans and stuff like that. So he's a troll, and he enjoys it. So for him to say that, it must mean that it's something with NDAs and stuff like that. Something more of the acquisition side. At least that's the way I took it, which is why I kind of got excited when I saw it. And I go, wow, for Ed Boon to kind of, go in that direction, it's very interesting. He just didn't leave it, lingering like, oh, well, you'll see more. You'll hear more about it soon or something like that. So for him to say that, that's when like my ears kind of, pricked up. And I'm like, whoa, wait a second. But yeah, Boom, to answer your question directly, Mortal Kombat would be a huge get for the Xbox brand, as well as filling the need of having a big fighting game, because Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter are arguably the 2 biggest fighting game genres. That's my opinion. I could be right, I could be wrong on that, but for them to solidify themselves with the Mortal Kombat brand and the legacy of Mortal Kombat, it will be huge for Xbox and another notch on Phil Spencer's belt of accolades that he's slowly acquiring. When you were mentioning the fantasy booking that you just did on E3, I got a little tear in my eye. Boom, that's you got me excited, man. If they were to do something like that, that would be awesome. I think that would be good, especially for NetherRealm. I think that we've seen how Microsoft is all in on gaming, and the way that they've kind of empowered these developers that they've acquired, from the Double Fines that, all indications are that game wouldn't have been the finished product that it was if it wasn't for Microsoft ingesting, their funds into that game. And I feel like NetherRealm is in the same area. We're not that WB never backed them up. That Mortal Kombat is $1 billion franchise, but seeing all the moves that Microsoft has made, Boom, I definitely do see that this is one that they can heavily that both sides can benefit, to be honest with you. Discovery, how much are they into the gaming thing? We haven't
Well, they also inherited a lot of debt with that
Yeah.
deal. So that's also something to be talked about.
Yeah, definitely. Microsoft is willing to spend. How much are they willing to spend to kind of cover the need of a fighting game to their portfolio? That's debatable. From what we've seen in the last 2 years, they are willing to spend money to fill those needs. So it's definitely something that I can see happening. Boom.
And with that said, Kay Asante, I want to bring you into the conversation because John made mention of Double Fine. And Tim Schafer. I happened to be in the audience, sitting right next to King David and Tim Dog, as a matter of fact, during the E3 event where it was announced that they were going to become first party. Phil Spencer brings them up. He makes the announcement with Tim there, and I can see something very similar happening to. With Ed Boon. I mean, obviously, Ed Boon was just there with Phil Spencer at the DICE Awards. He won an award himself, as a matter of fact. Look, I mean, the bottom line is that if Street Fighter is going to be locked up behind Sony, and that's what it appears to be, again, this is what we're all speculating. I think that we can all agree that with no announcement of platform, it's a little nefarious, at least in my opinion, right? For you as a diehard gamer, right? You obviously know the importance of, and again, this isn't a tit for tat thing, but again, we also have to talk about what could combat a Street Fighter 6. Well, a potentially a Killer Instinct made by NetherRealm Studios. Mortal Kombat, and that's the thing. I was talking with Everborn on the phone earlier today. Mortal Kombat, NetherRealm Studios isn't just another, development house. With NetherRealm Studios, you're going to get the Mortal Kombat IP. That includes film. That includes comics, anime, statues, figures, clothing. You name it. It's a monster of an acquisition for the value of the IP. Not to mention the value of who comes along with that IP. I mean, just look at what they did with Mortal Kombat 11. I mean, it sold over 12 million copies for a niche fighter. For you, do you see any kind of smoke here, or as a a bit of a KI nerd, am I looking too much into it?
No, I mean, this is one of those things that just keeps coming around, and at some point we're going to actually have to see something about it or have it dashed for real forever, right? This Ed Boon thing has been popping up multiple times since he said it, right?
Yeah.
And he's always been a KI fan because during his heyday, it was KI versus Mortal Kombat, right? Street Fighter was a separate thing, right? They were very much neck and neck, the Mortal Kombat and the Killer Instinct of its day on Nintendo and all of that. So he's always had a thing for Killer Instinct, and he's always made it known that a crossover would be very cool one day, right? So, as far as do I think that it would be useful for Microsoft to go this route? Heck yeah, I do. For the record, I am a Mortal Kombat stan from way back, way far. Even though I was born and bred within the streets of a Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat has a very special place in my childhood. So, I would obviously want a new, more resource-rich Mortal Kombat, right? So that would be perfect for the situation. I mean, there. While you guys were talking, I was thinking about what Special Nick said, where he has said it a while ago that he is under the strong belief that it's in heavy development, active development, but he could not find who's developing it. So it really does make sense that this could be one of those little secrets that are being floated around for those that know. They'll let it leak that it's being made, but they refuse to tell anybody who's making it, only to bring out NetherRealm doing so. It is still a dream right now, but it could go beyond that. I'm looking forward to seeing something like that. And as far as the tit for tat that you were talking about, I think we can all agree that Microsoft does not necessarily or Xbox specifically is not necessarily in the business of looking at what others are doing and replying back, right? They've been kind of on their own grind for a little while now. But until this whole Activision Blizzard thing showed up, we were pretty well versed on where they were looking to be heading. Now this whole thing seems to have derailed, not necessarily derailed, but taken up all the oxygen in the room, so to speak. So who knows? Maybe this deal was already inked already. Maybe all of it is done. They were just waiting for that perfect opportunity to announce it at an E3 type time. And then, of course, now we live in a post Activision Blizzard King acquisition world. So it's almost like, wow, they're acquiring somebody else. We'll see where it goes. But I mean, take my word for what it is. I'm totally biased in this situation. I would love for that to be the case. I would love for Mortal Kombat to become first party on Microsoft's side, of course, because that would really give us the fighting game we need. So I hope that comes to fruition for sure.
Yeah, and again, I just want to reread the comment directly from Ed Boon. I can say that for the past 10 years, we were releasing Mortal Kombat and Injustice. When we broke that pattern, there were a lot of speculation of what we were doing next. I can tell you that there's a reason for it. And when we announce our next game, it'll make a lot more sense. At this point, I'll get in a lot of trouble if I say anything more. Now, in past commentary, Ed Boon has said that even though he would like to do a Mortal Kombat versus KI, he specifically said that KI plays very, very differently. Now, again, this could be me just reading into the commentary, but their next game is not a Mortal Kombat game and is not Injustice 3. And if you're going to let anyone in on that IP, who better than Ed Boon and his team?
No, yeah, I completely agree with you. And to that idea that they both play differently, that was always a thing that was known to the fighting game community, that if there was ever going to be a crossover, one would have to adopt the other's style. And we weren't sure who it would be, because you can't have both be there. It can't both be that Mortal Kombat style, dismemberment thing in a Killer Instinct with Killer Instinct characters, right? And it would be a little weird. So it would be very interesting to see how these guys who at this point are expert in Western fighting games, right? Clearly they are the experts in Western fighting games. They always make games that deliver. It'd be interesting to see how they thread that needle, how you keep both various styles or various games, characters interesting in their own right, while still communicating together in this Mortal Kombat / Killer Instinct world. I mean, it is much easier with their Mortal Kombat Injustice world, because they've kind of brought the Mortal Kombat world into DC, right? So
yes,
they let basically DC adopt a bit of that Mortal Kombat style, and that's how it worked. But in a world where Killer Instinct and Mortal Kombat both have such a distinct style that's different from each other, it'd be very interesting to see how they thread those things together. But yeah, I'm still I'm on your boat. I'm still with you, because of the fact that this has been said to be in active development, but they have not brought out the name of the developer. In addition to the fact that Ed Boon just won't be quiet about it. Every couple of years, he drops a new bug in somebody's ear. Something's there. There's smoke. We don't know where the fire is going to happen, but there's definitely smoke, and I'm looking forward to seeing this thing. Either them coming out and finally admitting it, and we all going, "Yay, we knew it," or just admit that it's not happening and let us be sad forever. But every couple of years he drip feeds a bit more data, which keeps us on the hook. You know what I'm saying?
It's funny that you should say that, because I want to bring in Wandering Dutch in the conversation, and I have another tweet in front of me from June 14th. He loves June, and I guess it's because it's E3. June 14th, 2019. This is what Ed Boon had to say, Wandering Dutch. Wondering if Xbox players would want a Killer Instinct's Thunder skin for Nightwolf. Like, are you kidding me? Like, how come that didn't happen? Look, Wandering Dutch, this would be a monster deal for Microsoft. Again, we have to keep reiterating, if Sony is going to money hat Capcom and Street Fighter, the IP, because if Street Fighter 5 is exclusive and then Street Fighter 6 is exclusive, guess where we're all playing Street Fighter until the end of the world? it's going to be on a PlayStation unless they, like King David says, becomes a publisher and they start putting games everywhere, which, King David, he reads those tea leaves very well.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts on this, Wandering Dutch? With the recent comment from last week, is there smoke to this fire?
Yeah, I think so. But I definitely it's been one that's been going on for a while. Like you've said there, and we've said before, it's a kind of a relationship that's, like I say, there's no smoke without fire, and there's certainly been fire on social media for quite a while. He's constantly talking about it, or they're talking to each other, or teasing each other about some kind of crossover, or doing a remake, or a reboot. He's obviously a huge fan of Killer Instinct, and he would love to work on it. And his mention, I think, specifically on if it was his own IP, if it was just Mortal Kombat, he would have mentioned it was just Mortal Kombat. But the most recent post kind of stipulating, I would get into a lot of trouble if I mentioned what we're making, says to me that it's not his decision to make that call, which would mean it's definitely down to another company. And that company is the partner company that he's working with. That partner company being Xbox. So yeah, whether that's a Mortal Kombat Killer Instinct crossover or whether or not it's a Killer Instinct reboot, I'm sure we'll find out. I wouldn't mind either. Both of them are amazing options. I love Killer Instinct. As soon as that initial reboot of Killer Instinct came out on the Xbox One, I got the Ultimate Edition that included all the arcade versions and everything that come along with it.
Yep.
All the expansions, all the characters. So yeah, I've had that since day dot. I play it from time to time. Love the game. It's the word accessible, but it's a very accessible fighter. Pretty much anybody can pick up and play it. The combos aren't ultra difficult to pick up, even for new players, which is great. But you can also then refine your skills and get really good at the game and make all these ultra combos very quickly and these joining attacks. And yeah, it's an awesome game. It's a very pretty looking game as well. I think if you see this natively, the game itself is very pretty, 4K 60. I'm sure they've got some kind of performance mode on it now. It's HDR.
Mind you, this is a launch title from 2013, bro.
Yeah. It's a very good looking game, to be honest. And you can't shake them for that. But again, I'd love to see a reboot of it and get a bigger following again this time around. It deserves it. It's a very underrated fighter in my eyes. But yeah, 100%. I do not see why it wouldn't. And the acquisition of NetherRealm, never say never. It could happen. But I would definitely say, in terms of the recent announcement by Boon, that they have something in development, but they can't say because he's getting a lot of trouble. I think that's because of the partner he's working with, and the partner wants to announce that. And I do believe that partner to be Microsoft. I think they're definitely working together on it.
Yeah, makes great sense. Mag, let's bring you in on the conversation. Obviously, right now, the talk of the town recently has been Street Fighter 6 for a multitude of reasons. One, as a new Street Fighter coming out, which is great. And two, again, it's believed by many people within the industry and in the circles we run in. I mean, even Special Nick turned around and said back, I think maybe even a year ago, and he made mention on this week's new episode of the Xbox Era that he is being told by two different sources. One is saying it's exclusive, and two, the second one says that it's not. So he doesn't know which one. He said both of them are valued sources to him, but it is believed to be exclusive.
Yeah.
I think how you challenge that, and Street Fighter is, listen, maybe for a lot of people in the chat, we have 300 people, almost 300 people here. Maybe Street Fighter doesn't fall into your wheelhouse anymore like it did when it was released on, like the Super Nintendo, and then obviously the Saturn and the Dreamcast and so and so. Maybe it's just not your bag anymore. Certainly a lot of people's bag. How you challenge that, how you take them to task, is get a franchise as powerful as Street Fighter. And instead of just money having a game, you buy the company, which I think that would do well for NetherRealm Studios to be under.
Or you buy the
Microsoft.
parent company, but we'll talk about that.
Yeah,
later.
we'll come to you momentarily, brother. We know you got a lot to say about this particular topic we were talking, but do you think there's a shot that what Ed Boon is saying is a new Killer Instinct?
Yeah, I do, and I mean, it's all right there. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like it's like we're trying to like interpret, you know, in between the lines, reading in between the lines. I think he's practically like putting it on a billboard, the way I see it, anyway. And by the way, Boom, I just got to tell you that your reveal scenario that you put at the very beginning of the show, I haven't had like romantic fantasies that detailed. Like I like you are so detailed and like, and then Phil's gonna turn around and show the screen. I'm like, Jesus, I'm sitting there going, Boom has really thought about this, like the absolute down to the detail of like what shirt Ed Boon's wearing when he comes out. Anyways, it was awesome.
He's gonna be wearing a Killer Instinct shirt for sure.
Oh, for sure, it'll be Ki, and I'm
He's
telling you,
wearing Jago shirt. No, it's
Yeah.
a Jago shirt all day.
Hey, you know what? I can see it happening, but here's the thing. That now let's get into this NetherRealm situation briefly, quickly here. It makes sense. Okay, now the whole thing with WB, I've been banging that drum since we started talking about that last year as well. Everborn's not the only one. We're all in the same squad in that respect. I still think that WB's on the table. Just because Microsoft pushed their chair back doesn't mean they left the conversation. Okay, so we'll see how that goes. But the thing is, it makes sense. I mean, you got two Western companies, right? You got Microsoft, you've got NetherRealm, WB, whatever. They're all American companies. Okay. They get along together. The culture is pretty much the same. It's not like, can you imagine like all the cultural differences and the sort of disasters it would be, not disasters, but how different it would be to like try and incorporate like major Japanese publishers and stuff and trying to deal with, never mind just the language barrier, but even like the cultural barriers and all that stuff. You wouldn't really be on the same page. I don't care what anybody says. You wouldn't. It's just the way of the world. Sorry, right? Mm-hmm. But the thing is, when you got two Western companies, you got Western companies working together, the same ideals, the same work habits, the same sort of, you know, ideology, I could see them working together on something like that. Now, if you think about how and why this makes sense, look at what Phil Spencer's got in his arsenal. He has got third-person shooters on lock, okay, with like your whole Gears of War and everything else. He's got first now, because of Activision Blizzard, he now has the first-person shooter business on lock. He's got the action RPG genre on lock. I mean, I don't have to go through every single bloody thing that they own now. You know, fantasy genres, first-person, all this other stuff. But what are they always missing? What is that one thing that they're always missing? A fighting, besides 2013, you know, with this game that we're watching right now, was a fighting game and children's games. Okay? TT Games and NetherRealm. Sounds pretty obvious to me, isn't it? Wouldn't that fill
perfect
up
fit?
You know what I'm saying? If you got a ship that's kind of a little water's getting inside, what are the two perfect plugs right there? TT Games and NetherRealm. Boom! Your ship's gonna keep going. So, you know, I could see that being a thing. Now, the thing is, Ed Boon loves to tease. Asante was saying that earlier.
He does.
You know, and John was saying that earlier. You know, John, I see your name, John Wolf, and I keep wanting to call you Jon Snow. Just because I think of like, you know, like the whole wolf thing. John Wolf said it. Asante said it. And I'm going to try and say it properly. You know, they were talking about the way that Ed Boon loves to tease. You guys remember not way back, but it was a couple years ago when they were teasing MK10. He hadn't even made the announcement yet for MK10. And Ed Boon, no joke, is walking around a parking lot taking pictures of a car, of the MKX car. Like SUV, I think I don't know. I can't remember if it's a Mazda or a Toyota MKX. And he was taking pictures of the car. And I'm like, "What? Is this guy lost his mind?" And then I realized what he was doing. He was teasing MK10, right? MKX. Like, can you imagine? He's walking around a parking lot taking pictures of other people's cars. And that's what he was doing because he loves to troll that kind of stuff, right?
He
likes to get people excited. So why not? So now he's doing, and you got to face it, guys. What do they do when the anti-terrorist squads are always talking? There's a lot of chatter. And you know what that means? You know that something's on its way. What's going on with Ed Boon right now? This guy is chatting up a storm.
Yep.
You know, this guy's practically
he's here, there, and everywhere.
He's ridiculous. He's chirping more than a witness protection program guy. You know what I mean? He's like, but I can't say anything. But I can't say anything. I'm like, dude, come on, man. You're basically just, you're just dying to get this out of your system. You can tell. But you know what? In just a few short months, I think we're going to find out exactly what's going to happen. I don't. Is it gonna be exclusively Killer Instinct? Maybe. Because let's face it, they're just still coming off of MK11's DLC, right? I mean, it's only been a year. I can't see them putting all that effort into like a Mortal Kombat versus KI that quickly of a turnaround and not even an announcement. I think it's too soon.
So that you know, when they released that MK, that first part, that's the primary team. The secondary team does the DLCs. So then the primary team goes off to work on something else. So it could be offset to the timeline where these are the new team that finished, because that second part, Aftermath, was all DLC. That was not the primary team.
Really? I did not know that.
Interesting.
And you know what? I got to say, well, then I'll tell you one thing. Kudos to Team B. I hate to say that, but let's call them the secondary team. Kudos to them for putting together one hell of a DLC.
Aftermath was incredible, dude.
It was amazing. If you're a Mortal Kombat fan, I mean, just playing the story mode alone is worth it. Never mind being, tinkering around with all the DLC characters and whatever. Absolutely magnificent. And of course, let's face it. Also, NetherRealm is no stranger to crossovers. One of my favorite, and it was criminally underrated in my opinion. One of my favorite Mortal Kombats was the Mortal Kombat versus DC Universe. You remember that, guys?
Yes. Yep.
I loved that game.
And Matt, and sorry to interrupt you, but I think, and personally, and it's a point I wanted to make, but I forgot while I was talking, but just to add, because you just made me remember, in my opinion, the Killer Instinct IP matches better with Mortal Kombat than DC did. So I think that they would be excited to kind of work with the Killer Instinct franchise. Yes,
and you know the thing you guys were talking about, actually, thank you for bringing that up. I just want to piggyback one last thing here before I move the mic on to Everborn, is that people are saying, the fight style is different, this and that. Let's also face the fact, guys, that Killer Instinct came out 9 years ago.
That's right. Yep.
Like, you can change it up now. It's not like it's a sequel that came out 2 years ago where people are going to be going, guys, I've just finished playing this game and now they're playing differently. By the time you hit 9 years, and first of all, it's not like the game's coming out tomorrow. So it could take another couple of years, right? If that's the case, now you're talking like anywhere between 10 and 12 years between titles. You could easily retool that game to make it its own entity and make it basically an entirely new game with a new fighting style, but with the same characters and at least, let's say, the beating heart of Killer Instinct. And I mean, who's honestly going to care? Like, come on. Like, I mean, is anybody going to care? They'll be like, oh, the movement's a little different. I don't think anybody's going to care as long as the product's good. That's the way I see it. I always have the same thing. I have a very similar mantra when I'm working. Someone's like, you guys are doing chicken again today? They did chicken yesterday. I'm like, yeah, but you know what? If it's really damn good, no one's going to say a word. Okay? If it's bad, that's when people start complaining. I said, all you have to do is give them quality. I think that if you give a quality Killer Instinct game and it's slightly retooled for even a more modern audience, because let's face it, once again, they are not building games for us. They're not building games for people in the chat. They are building games for people who were born in 2013 and 2012. So that by the time it comes out, they're 12 and 13 years old. Guys, around the same age we were when Killer Instinct came out in the arcade.
Thanks for making me feel old, man.
Thank you, Everborn. Jesus. You're very welcome, Everborn. But guess what? Welcome to reality. We're old.
I remember when it was called Ultra 64. That was the Super.
Right.
That was the N64 engine, which is bonkers. I played that in Nathan's arcade. Anyone from New York knows about Yonkers, New York. They had a Nathan's arcade that had 200 machines. So good, man.
No, there you go. So Boom, how old were you then? That's who they're marketing for when this game comes out. Because it's not, like I said, it's not coming out tomorrow. This is coming out. Or sorry,
two years maybe.
Right, 2-3 years maybe. So now, if you're looking at 20 people who were born when Killer Instinct 2013 came out, okay, now you're talking about people who are around the 11 to 14-year-old range. That's who they're marketing for. Not old farts like us. You know what I mean? We're like one step from the golf course.
Yeah, to be honest though, Mag, I hear what you're saying, and you do make a lot of sense, but I think that because Ed Boon is classic, like an old bastard like me, he would want to keep Killer Instinct the same. The movement, I don't think is going to change. I think it's going to be Killer Instinct. I just think the modern visuals and storytelling is going, because the one thing that about Killer Instinct, listen, the story was just it was okay. It wasn't great. And I think that seeing how NetherRealm tells the story of Mortal Kombat, specifically 11, and that Aftermath DLC was freaking phenomenal. Just imagine that storytelling and the polish of Mortal Kombat 11 coming into Killer Instinct. It would be something else.
Yeah, but you hear the thing. I'm going to push back on one thing though, Boom. Think about Ed Boon, who's been making Mortal Kombat since the early 90s. Do those games play the same as they do now?
No, they do not. No, they're certainly different.
He has evolved over the years, right? So, like, if you were to put MK11 and put it up against MK1, never mind, like, the actual, like, the technicality of it, right? Yeah, and the visuals and that kind of stuff. If you actually look at the play style, have completely changed. So they do evolve over time. I could see him maybe not like as crazy as a difference as like MK1 to MK11, but like somewhere in the middle. I could see him evolving it into a point where maybe he can morph it ever so slightly so that it's a little bit more compatible with the Mortal Kombat universe. I could see something like that, but I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. But either way, I'm excited to find out what's going to happen in June. I think it'll be interesting. I think it'll be fun. I think it'll be something, and I hope it's exactly how Boom said it, by the way. I just like to point that out. I want to see if it happens exactly like that. I swear to God, we all got to put in like $100 super chat or something ridiculous like that. Just like it's almost like a bet. But anyway,
listen,
by the way,
Boom got me like that when on ILP
with the splinter cell, with the splinter cell sound.
When he had the sound effect and everything, I was so angry.
I was angry at myself.
I was like, "This has to happen now."
I remember that. By the way, I remember that. Yeah.
Listen, all I can say is the next interview that Phil Spencer does, and I would imagine that he's going to be doing quite a few. Watch for the Mortal Kombat something on his shelf. You're going to see, folks, and you're going to say, you know what, that guy Boom, he was right. But anyway, I want to bring in Everborn Saga, but before I do, I got to catch up with some of the super chats. We have 3 from Drawn TJ, all $5. Thank you for the generosity, my brother. The first one, he says, hello, guys, and hello, Drawn TJ. Second one, he says, hell yeah, Mortal Kombat crossover with Killer Instinct would be amazing. It would be, but but to be honest with you, I don't think that's out of the gate. I think that if this comes to fruition, they reboot the franchise, and at some point they do a crossover. And he the third one, he says, do you think they should pick up all of WB and get Ubisoft? Ubisoft, no, stay away from them. They have a lot of problems. Plus, they have 20,000 employees, which is more than all of Microsoft and Activision put together. It's too much of a nightmare over at that company. We're going to talk
and Activision, not Microsoft and Activision, but yes. But we're gonna talk about WB potentially right now. And Moislito Guerrero drops a very generous, $20 super chat, and he says this: it's going to be a big miss opportunity for Capcom if they make Street Fighter 6 exclusive to PlayStation. The Xbox Game Pass was just announced, over 25 million subscribers. Just imagine the amount of people that would buy this on Xbox. It would sell. I guarantee it would sell at least the same amount, potentially more than you will see the sales on your PlayStation 4/5. But Everborn Saga, let's get you in on the conversation before we move on to the shenanigans of tonight, the Spitfire, the spicy, whatever you want to call it, because everyone has been talking in the DMs, and we have a lot to say about what Pachter had to say on the Pachter Factor, which, again, I'm going to read you the quotes. I don't even know if I have to say anything about that after Mag's video, because
for the love of God,
oh man.
Yeah, well, listen,
comedy gold, baby.
Comedy gold indeed, but we're going to get into it. Where do you, I mean, listen, we know that you think Microsoft should pick up WB proper, right? I mean,
WB
go all the
Discovery
way out
at this point.
Yeah, and you know what, we're into somewhat of agreements. I don't know if Microsoft wants to get into the film business, but again, that's a conversation for another podcast. For you, seeing the way Ed Boon continues to talk
about Killer Instinct, just recently teasing about his new project that's incredibly different than Mortal Kombat and Injustice. Do you think there is definitely smoke or fire where there's smoke?
There could be, but at this point, it could go in any direction because Warner Brothers has so many IP. What if he's making a Matrix fighter? Right?
Well, that would be awful, but I see your point.
Hold on. Would it though? Right? Because Matrix is all about the kung fu. I could see it, but that's neither here nor there. I do think, I think there's something, and as you know, like we have speculated many times about, what could happen with NetherRealm and TT, and I have been trying to, make the business case for Microsoft entering into the streaming market, video streaming market, and what better way to do that with a premier legacy movie studio that already has one of the biggest streaming services to boot, as well as a plethora of IPs, and then owning half of all the superheroes, in the world, right? So, and again, AT&T just valued Warner Brothers for the Discovery deal at $45 billion, which is even when you add like consideration for a markup, is probably they could have done it for the price of the Activision Blizzard deal, but that's neither here nor there. About Mortal Kombat, firstly, I want to talk about this idea that they feel too different to have a crossover. And I would argue the moment people see Jago versus Sub-Zero, all is forgiven.
Yeah,
they can do whatever they want at that point, right? So there's that part of it. Now, then there is there potential that Microsoft may have already purchased NetherRealm off of AT&T's hands, and I think because it would be more than $100 million. I think we would have known about it. They would have had to say something. So I don't think that deal is done. Now, are they partnering at the moment? Maybe, but then we also heard those rumors of there is a Japanese studio that's working on a Killer Instinct.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, Tempest Son, obviously, who's obviously a part of the show, and taking some time off from the program, says there was a rumor that Bandai Namco was making the next Killer Instinct for Microsoft. Maximilian Dude, who, if you don't know who he is, that's the fighting game king, if you will, covered it, and though he said it had a decent chance at actually happening, but he says, I'm hoping that they got NetherRealm though.
Right, and this is the thing. If they're not already making it, I think it could be. And the Matrix was just my thing because I think it fits well with the idea of a fighting game. And I think Ed Boon could, even if you don't like it, I think Ed Boon could make it into something that you did like. Yeah. Between storytelling and fight mechanics, I think it would be very interesting. But Warner Brothers proper has a million IPs that they could turn into. A fighting game. So it could be nothing, or it could be the beginning of something. Because remember, a lot of these things are in flux, and maybe this is a deal like we all expect Crystal Dynamics to be acquired, right? Yes. Maybe this is one of those deals. Hey, make Killer Instinct for us right now. And then hint, hint, wink, wink, when your Discovery deal is done and my Activision Blizzard deal is done, we'll actually make this official.
Yeah.
Like the Sony template.
Yes.
Well, no, I was going to say
a lot of courting before they get married.
Yeah, I was going to say you got the side piece and you tell them let me just get this divorce first. I promise I'll marry you. Right? It's that kind of thing. So
And how many times does that work out in the end?
It usually doesn't. That's what has
It
me
never
concerned
does.
with his analogy.
The
Yes,
the
absolutely.
original
Basic
wife
instinct.
always
Basic
gets
instinct.
called phone call from the mistress. That's how it happens every time. But anyway, no, I think could it happen? Yes. Has it already happened? No. Is there a partnership? I could absolutely see that happening. But again, I think Microsoft right now is so gung-ho on closing the largest deal in the history of the company that they're not moving on anything. Even if there was a deal and they were set to sign it, November 19th, 2021, all of that changed. So everything's on hold before then, and we shall see. But it would be an amazing moment at E3. And remember, any trepidations you have about play style will go out the window when you see Orchid versus Melina.
Yeah.
Yes, man.
I like what you're putting down, folks. Listen, we're going to get into the nitty gritty. As you saw, I died numerous times. I haven't even made it to the part where I beat the big pumpkin.
I couldn't help but laugh at you, Boom.
You
Yeah,
died?
dude, and that's funny.
Here and there, it's just so fun. I love watching other people play.
And shout out to a lot of people that were like, "Listen, Boom, love what you're doing here. Congratulations on beating that dude, but you're rolling way too much." So listen, I don't play Souls games, so I roll. That's
I
what
thought you were
do.
playing Rise, Son of Rome for a second there, Boom.
Oh my god! Here we go. Look, I'm rolling again. There you go. Listen, let's get into what everyone, and first of all, we got 330 people here. Please do me a favor. If you are new to the channel, you're finding us for the first time, consider subscribing. More importantly, if you are already subscribed, consider hitting the like button before you get on out of here. We got to get into a topic that I feel is going to piss a lot of people off for a multitude of reasons. And quite frankly, hearing him, and I say him, I'm talking about Micheal Pachter. If you don't know who Micheal Pachter is, maybe about 5 years ago, he was literally the talk of the town. He had built up a reputation of getting a lot of his opinions correct, and unfortunately, over the course of several years, over the last generation, he has fallen out of good grace with the peoples. Because obviously he's made a lot of bold statements, and most of the time, and again, this is not me dumping on the dude. I'm not talking about his business practices. I could care less about that. I'm talking about his opinions in video game, the realm that we all are hanging out in, talking about. He has been wrong not almost 9 out of 10 times. And I believe he has once again put his foot in his mouth, and here is why, folks. Here is what he had to say on his paid-for show. Now, you can go and you can watch it right now. Go look for the Pachter Factor podcast. It's a little show that he does. Originally, it's paywalled, and eventually, after it's been out for a couple of days for its members, it becomes available on YouTube for free, which is how I watched it. Now, like I said earlier, in when we were doing the intros, I got a chance to watch Hoag's new video from Virtual Legality, and he specifically talked about this particular topic. It was really well done, and of course, what Hoag usually does. He always puts out a great product, and I'm happy to support him. But I just want to read the quotes, folks. And this is, again, the reason why this is coming into a conversation right now is because of the way that Micheal Pachter presented it. He didn't present it like, hey, folks, this is my opinion. This is what I think is going to happen. He presented this in this paywall video of it being as a matter of fact. And I think when you do that, you do open yourself up for scrutiny. You certainly open yourself up to fail, which I think he's going to do. And here's what he had to say. So, folks, bear with me because it is a lot of nonsense. He starts off with this. My expectation is Microsoft is going to receive a consent decree from the FTC, which of course stands for the Federal Trade Commission, right? This happened, and obviously this is something that happened already. what if you're not sure what a consent decree is basically the FTC is going to make some suggestions after they agree that, yeah, you can go forward with the deal. But if you go forward with the deal, these are the things that we want you to adhere to. So this is Micheal Pachter actually saying this shenanigans. He says that the FTC is going to request no price increase to the Xbox for 10 years. Then he continues to say no price increase to Xbox Game Pass for 5 years. And this is where it gets stupid. And any game in the Microsoft portfolio that has historically been published on PlayStation, listen to this, folks, must be offered on PlayStation for future iterations. But if you think the stupidity doesn't go any further, well, I got news for you. Here it goes. That's not just Activision, he says. Nobody asked the question, what about the next Fallout? What about the next Elder Scrolls? My guess is Microsoft planned never to put those games onto PlayStation. The government will probably can require them to do so moving forward. So let me just break this down in the easiest terms as possible. He is suggesting, and he says at the end of this, watermark this video, you're going to come back and you're going to say that guy was right. Well, I'm going to tell you that he's 100% wrong. What he is suggesting in the third paragraph is, even though the FTC has approved the Bethesda deal 2 years ago, he is going to turn around and the FTC is going to say, oh, by the way, Microsoft, you have to put all of these games like Fallout and pick your favorite one, Wolfenstein, whatever, on a PlayStation, because traditionally they've been there. I find this to be the most preposterous thing I've ever read. Mag, I want to go to you first, just in case we run over, because we know you got to be out by 9 o'clock. How ridiculous is Micheal Pachter saying this, and he's saying it with as a matter of fact?
I can't, Boom. I can't do it. Like, when I saw the video, first of all, I saw that Tim Dog had posted it like 3 days ago, and I didn't even know it came out. I didn't even hear anything about it until I saw you go in on it, right? So I saw you go in, and I'm like, what the hell is Boom getting on with this now? So I click on the thing, and I'm going, what? I couldn't stop laughing. So I'm just like, okay, that's a take, I guess. And then I gotta admit, that's when the wheels started turning to me, and that's when I had to make a video. I'm like, you know what? It's been the first video in almost a month that, like, because I couldn't find anything funny enough to spoof, and this just took the cake for me. So I gotta say, it's like the mother of all bad takes here. But in my opinion, when it comes to some of these hot takes, especially coming from him, I understand that a lot of it is like, hey, you know what? Some of it's just speculation. You just like, come to ideas. Say, listen, I think this may happen. This may happen. This may happen. But to quote Captain Kirk from The Wrath of Khan, by the way, 1982, one of the greatest Star Trek movies ever made. When he's on the comm with Khan, he goes, Khan, you managed to kill everybody else, but like a drunk marksman, you keep missing the target. So that's kind of where he's going with that. It just keeps missing the damn target over and over with this. Now, you think about this. Let me break it down as simple as I can, because I'm not Hogue Law, okay? I'm not an expert in any of that kind of, well, I mean, I do deal with that stuff now, but not in the video game world, right? So, but the thing is, the way I look at it is that $70 billion, you don't spend that to be told what to do with it.
I mean, makes sense.
Is that just me? You don't spend $70 billion, to be met with caveats and demands. What the hell is that?
It's ridiculous.
You're putting up the money, not them. This is when you give people caveats and demands. When you give people ultimatums or tell them what to do, when you owe them money. That's when people put caveats, demands, and tell you what to do, right? Because they're like, fine, listen, I'll lend you this $100. However, right? Don't spend it on booze. make sure you have it back to me by next weekend or whatever, right? So like that's what this sounds like.
Hey Mag, didn't you know Microsoft was paying for this with food stamps from the government?
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly, right? Like, so this is what it sounds like. This sounds like they owe them money. This sounds like Sony's trying to buy somebody, right? That's when that's when you get caveats and demands and be like, listen, y'all broke. So you're gonna follow these demands right here, right? That's the way I see it. Now, the other thing is that I did like, what exactly is the Fair Trade Commission if the competition clause is you're going to handcuff the buyer? That does not make any sense to me whatsoever. How can you handcuff the buyer of that company, of said company, right, or publisher? How can you handcuff them by saying you can't raise the prices of Xbox for 10 years? You realize in 10 years it'll be another generation, right?
Correct.
Okay, so the Series X and the Series S will be long gone, and not long gone, but I mean gone enough in like 10 years. Okay? Inflation may play a big part in 10 years, assuming we're even here in 10 years. We could be living on Mars in 10 years for all the hell we know, right? So who knows what's going to happen? But
or a part, I was going to say a part of a certain union, but we'll leave that alone.
My God, guys, bringing it tonight. So here's the thing. How do you know how much things are going to cost in 10 years? How can you handcuff a company and say, now I understand like the current gen, they don't go up in price. You don't start with a $500 console at the beginning of a generation and then charge $550 6 years down the road. I understand that.
It's
they usually
ridiculous to even make a suggestion like that. Yeah.
Right. So like what's happening is what would end up happening, obviously, is that the prices would go down, right? Because the parts get cheaper, right? And they find little workarounds. They find shortcuts, everything else to use less silicone, less plastic, less parts, and are able to make it a lot cheaper. That's hence like the slim models, right? So that doesn't make any sense. Game Pass, keeping Game Pass at the same price for 5 years. First of all, we called that anyway. I think that actually is the most accurate thing so far because, like I said, I think that they have to hit those thresholds, just like Disney Plus does, just like Netflix does. Netflix does not raise their prices until they hit a new threshold. Okay? Same thing with Disney Plus. They do not raise their prices until they hit 100 million, right? I think that Game Pass will raise in price, but I think it'll have to hit somewhere between 50 and 75 million. That would be that would be like their next threshold. Once they hit that, then they might raise it $1 or maybe $2 or whatever, right? And then at the same time, guys, let's face it, inflation is a thing. Wages go up, expenses go up, especially after this pandemic and everything else. Everybody's still on the mend, right? Everything is more expensive. Just go to the grocery store. You can spend $100 and you come back with nothing.
Hey, can I tell you something, Mav? You want to hear something that's pretty interesting? Philadelphia cream cheese, pretty good cream cheese here in New York. FYI, $8 for 16
okay. So you know what? You're gonna have to change to the Wisconsin cream cheese.
Because, $8 for Philadelphia?
$8, $7.89 here in New York for the 16-ounce Philadelphia cream chease, the whipped kind, which is the one that I like.
Yeah, well, like I said, you're gonna have to change it to like the 8 mile Detroit cream cheese for $3.
It's like not even £2. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, see, Dutch, that's what we're facing over here. You know what? Actually, thank God I got a Everborn and I are part of the revolution.
Yeah, you've seen the price of Heineken in the States,
dude. A regular car fill up in Canada is $110 for a tank of gas.
That's as much as your game.
Mag, sometimes I just drive in front of gas stations.
Actually, I go to the gas station all the time to get lottery tickets just to piss people off. But that's just petty me. Anyhow, but
I'm saving the planet, man. Hey, I'm trying to shame everybody else into doing it.
And look, Elon Musk is putting satellites in Ukraine, right? So good on us. Anyways, the thing is, this is what I'm saying. The point is that things get more expensive. I could see that going up, but not in the next 5 years. They're still trying to build a player base in the Game Pass. Game Pass subscription, and of course the community. They need to build it. You're not going to raise the price next year. That's ludicrous because that's before all those big games come out. You're going to piss people off before those big games come out. It's not going to happen. So Pachter is right there. I still think that it's going to be 5 years before they raise the price there. The console thing does not make any sense. They have no right to tell anybody how much to charge for their product. None. I don't give a I don't care who they are. Okay, the Fair Trade Commission, I don't care if they're from around the world, around the globe, or whatever, just North America, you cannot tell anybody what they can charge. That's what's called enterprise. You cannot tell people what they want to charge for something, for a product that they make, right? That's like going to Apple and saying, no, I'm sorry, you can only charge X amount of dollars for an iPad. Doesn't make any sense, and it's never going to happen. On top of the fact that these caveats, and of course these demands, this is the last thing I'll say, these caveats and demands sound like, I don't know. Like it sounds like they're in first place. You got to keep in mind that these guys in the gaming space are in third,
barely number
place.
3, barely
number 3 in the competition of the gaming space. It doesn't make any sense to make all these caveats and demands. If they were number 1 and already monopolizing the situation, you could put caveats and demands in there all day long, because that would be a reasonable case for monopoly. But this is clearly not the case. So I don't understand where this is coming from. However, like I said, the only thing I agree on is the Game Pass thing not going up in price. And but the other stuff I think is all nonsense. But anyways, if you want a good laugh, go check out my video. That's exactly what I was making fun of, right? So
maybe they're considering changing the name to the Unfair Trade Commission.
Doesn't it seem kind of silly? Like it seems like lunacy. And at the same time, they've already, the other thing that doesn't make any sense is that Microsoft has already basically reached out that olive branch and already said, listen, some of these games are going to go third party anyway, because we do not want to break up the gaming community. It doesn't matter where that community is from, whether it's from PlayStation, whether it's from Xbox, whether it's from PC. And if you all recall, they did mention Nintendo.
Yeah.
Because they want to open it up even further to even a bigger audience. That's what I see.
Listen, again, just based on his track record, there's a good chance that he's wrong, which he usually is. But to suggest this ridiculousness, which, by the way, you're going to see, I'm going to sneak right past that very large bear that's sleeping. I don't mess with him. I just go get the treasure and I'm out. You'll see. Keep watching. Because look at it. Look at the size of that thing. Are you freaking kidding? What am I supposed to do against that thing? But listen.
Hey, Boom, what class did you choose?
Samurai.
Okay. I started with Warrior. It was terrible. I was gonna throw the game away and delete it and never install it again. And then I started over, switched to the Hero class. Been doing some farming up to level 20. I hate it a little bit less.
Okay,
don't love it.
Yeah,
but I hate it less.
This game this is a very love-hate relationship when it comes to the game. I'm enjoying it. I'm getting killed quite a bit, but I'm a little bit more bold now, because at least the guys on horses and stuff now I can take down equally and with no problem. But
what level are you on?
I'm level 20.
Oh, well, you're better than me. I wasn't killing people that big at this level, but we'll talk after.
Real quick, I got to shout out Lady Foxfire in the chat. Thank you so much for being here, darling. She drops very generous $2 super chat and says, glad I made it live, showing some love. Hit the like button. Well, thank you for that, darling. It's always great to have you here, and we definitely appreciate you hanging out with us. And of course, thank you for the generosity. Brett Bingham, good friend of the show, he drops a $5 super chat and says, Pachter is full of it. Indeed, he is. The U.S. government doesn't own Microsoft. He has some of the worst takes in the industry, and a lot of the time, it is just hot air. Indeed, it is. Let's bring in Kayasante. You and I were talking about this today, and look, there is one thing, and I want it to be very clear, okay? You're allowed to have an opinion. That's what's wonderful about this great country. But again, when people put themselves out there and they do these a matter-of-fact kind of commentary, like he did during this video that Tim Dog responded and I responded to, you do open yourself out for the Boob Award of 2022, which I believe he's going to receive. And I'm hoping I can hand him that award. You know, big trophy with just a boob on there, not an actual boob, but just maybe just a funny face that says boob, right? Oh, my goodness. What are your thoughts on what he's saying? Because sounds like a lot of hogwash to me.
Yeah, so you guys have already you've already laid it out pretty plainly here. the hell do you drop a horse from that height and he doesn't hurt himself? I'm sorry.
You know something? I tried to jump from a much higher height and I died, and the legs were flying all over the place, so it wasn't good.
Like, that's ridiculous.
I'm trying to figure out the fall damage in this game is very bizarre.
He had imaginary wings, Kea Santa. You didn't see the wings.
I'm sorry. Anyway, as we were saying, the guy used to be, he used to be a voice within the community, and as he has made enough mistakes and has been wrong enough, right? And it's not even the wrong stuff, and you guys have already pointed that out as well. It's not whether he's wrong or not wrong. It's that he prognosticates, and he does it in a very confident way that makes you think that it's all but a secure situation at this point, It makes it seem like he has some insiders or he knows something, when clearly it's just an opinion, and then he's wrong over and over and over again. And he says it in such a snarky way that he invites that criticism to him, So the fact that he's doing this is one of many videos he's done. It's just this one caught a little bit more fire than the others have, but that he's always saying things like that. Now, about the substance of what he's saying, all of it is wrong. I'll even go against a bit of what you were saying there, Mag, about the pricing being delayed at some point. Mm-hmm. Even if they choose to increase the price at some point, that'll be a choice that Microsoft will choose to make. Right. What this guy is saying is that the FTC will force them to keep it the same for 5 years. Anybody forcing Microsoft to keep anything anywhere? If they choose to increase the price, they will increase the price. And if you pay attention, and shout out to Hogue Law, he laid it out very well in his video. If you pay attention to what the FTC is there to do, it's to continue to spur competition. That's the ultimate goal, right?
Correct.
Right.
Yes.
It's so that when this is all said and done, will there still be competition here, or will it be one person gets the whole thing? If anybody remembers the old, and we're a bunch of oldies here, if anybody remembers the old Microsoft days where they were made to offer browsers, like this is in Europe, I lived there at the time. Every time you boot up Windows, it asks you which operating system you want, which browser you want to choose from. They were forced to do that because in that market, the way that was laid out, they basically owned all the operating systems already anyway. Now, if you force people onto your browser after that, that is a complete monopolistic situation. And that was rightly called out. So they have experience in this realm, right, being called to the carpet and possibly even separated. There was talk of the company getting broken up because they were too powerful. There is no way that these guys are not walking into this new environment, this new potential purchase, not thinking of all the potential pitfalls that are befall instead of them. Pachter does not know what the hell he is talking about, because like those decrees would happen, as has already been said here. Those decrees would happen if they owned a larger stake in the market, which they don't. That's already been plainly stated. Those decrees would be useful if there was any way that someone could make an argument that after this is done, all of a sudden Xbox or Microsoft will have an unfair advantage in the market. And there's just no way you can see what they're doing there and actually have a viable argument against it, right? So it's absolutely ridiculous in my opinion. There's just no reason to even, for him to keep Carnival barking. It's surprising that this one caught fire, but, pay attention to him and you'll get a couple of them. Every once in a while, he'll say something absolutely ridiculous. And he, by definition, you can tell based on all his remarks, he's definitely a PlayStation dude, which is fine. But, combine that with the snarky, prognostication and all that, and he always just rubs people the wrong way.
I would add to that, I think we found his Twitter account. It was the same one that asked Biden to step in and stop the deal.
Exactly.
Oh, interesting.
Oh, just one thing. I do have some
breaking news.
Mm-hmm.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no
I
point
love it.
in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it.
Yeah. What movie is this from again? I forget.
Billy Madison.
And may God have mercy on your soul.
Well, listen, we just stop the footage because we don't want to get flagged by YouTube.
That's right.
Yes, good stuff, dude. What can I say?
I planned that all day, so if we do get a flag, I apologize, but I need people to hear. I'm sorry for that. So.
Yeah, no problem. I'm gonna timestamp it just in case I have to cut it out.
Yes.
But here we go.
And it was 26 seconds.
Excellent. Okay. Well, look, the bottom line is that there's a lot to be said about what he talked about, and like I said, simply by suggesting, as a matter of fact, he did put himself out there. Before we bring John Wolf into the conversation, let's get Wandering Dutch here. Dutch, you have a lot to say about this. Obviously, we were talking in the DMs. What are your thoughts on again, might be the dumbest comment of the year so far?
There's a lot to unravel on this one. He's psychosis is one of them. The fact that he seems to assume that he has sources on the inside of an NDA filled transaction, one of the largest transactions in gaming history, if not the largest transaction in gaming history. And he seems to think he's got sources on the inside that are willing to break NDA to tell him the finer details of an agreement. Is absolutely mind blowing.
Would you say it's rubbish?
Yeah, that would be an understatement. The fact that he also believes that 3 of those would be competition prohibiting rules that they're going to put in place here as part of the agreement. One, forcing them to not increase the price of a product, forcing them to not increase the price of a subscription, and then forcing them to place products onto their desired locations is competition prohibiting, not creating competition. That would essentially say that the FTC or DOJ are essentially prohibiting Microsoft from making any profits should there be severe financial implications on the market, i.e. inflation of products or inflation of costs that require them to increase. If that would be the case, then it would be loss-making, and that wouldn't be providing any form of competition. It wouldn't be essentially, it would be prohibiting Microsoft or Xbox from competing in the first place if they were having to take a loss on all their products. So that's never going to be anything that comes into play. Again, it's another one of these shows that put their wild thoughts behind a paywall. That tells you all that you need to know about that. They'd rather kind of put their shows out first behind a paywall and make people pay for it to get these silly thoughts before it goes out to the public. Of course, fine shows like ourselves don't require that in order to get people to understand our opinions or to listen to us. We're more than happy to do it here free of charge. Thanks to the lovely guys at YouTube who provide a horrific amount of advertisement afterwards. But no, it's just another guy, another ex-analyst that seems to think he knows a lot about the finance side of things, and he doesn't. I don't understand why a lot of these game analysts seem to now become finance analysts or analysts of large brokering of deals. Which is not the case, and they're never ever in a million years going to get the finer details of a large 80 billion transaction to a guy called Micheal Pachter, who was an analyst in the gaming sector. He's never going to be told those details. He's living in dreamland. It's never going to happen. They're not going to restrict that. If there is going to be any form of things, it's not something that Microsoft have to accept. Hoglo did a very good breakdown of it. They can essentially, all they'd be doing at the end of the day is if they don't agree and they want to sue them for it, Microsoft can take them to court. And actually, the DOJ and FTC have lost just as many as they've won. So they've got a fair chance of going around anything anyway if they do take them to court. And the chances are Microsoft, being one of the largest organizations in the world, would be able to argue the case anyway and just say, look, X, Y, and Z points, and these are our breakdowns of why it's not anti-competitive. So yeah, it's I don't know why why people even come up with these silly kind of points of view and then pass them off as fact. when it can be quite easily dismissed as completely unfactual and baseless, or why people, again, and it's happening more and more these days, and I think everybody's kind of found that out. There's a lot of people claiming to have sources in certain things. Like a lot of people that have no sources whatsoever, their sources end up being some guy on Reset Error or some guy on Reddit, or you know what it is. It's people just need to stop saying they have a source for something if they don't. Yes,
Correct.
he's been in the industry a while, but none of those people that have been in the industry have any affiliation with the FTC or the Department of Justice. And even then, if they did, they would be severely penalized for breaking NDA on such a deal anyway. There would be, and by severely penalized, you're talking court time and jail time.
Yes,
you're
indeed.
you can't talk about these type of things in public, no matter who it's to. So
It's a federal crime, just so you
Yeah.
know. That's major jail time.
100%. Yeah.
So it's, and I mean, I've signed a few this year myself, working with clients, and you can't speak to anybody about them, and
Nope.
they're specifically requested by them. You sign on the dotted line, cannot speak to anybody outside the office about X, Y, and Z. So that is it. It's in office only, and that's exactly what NDAs are. You can speak to you or the people around you working on the deal. Nobody outside of that can speak about that, and that is that. And everyone working on this deal will be privy to an NDA, which is why when both Microsoft and the opposite side, of course, ActiBliz, are speaking about anything to do with this deal, they're all loose terminology, and it's all kind of things that can be construed in both ways because they can't officially talk about anything.
Correct.
They're not
Yes.
allowed to by NDA. They'd love to, Coasterboard. They'd love to tell you the ins and outs right now, but they can't. It's under NDA until the deal is done, in which case then they can speak to their heart's content. But yeah.
Which I would expect that once this deal is done, we're going to see something very similar to what happened with Bethesda,
100%.
with a big sit down
100%.
situation.
There's going to be a round table as usual. There'll be a nice round table where they talk about the history of the company, etc. Hopefully, Bobby Kotick isn't anywhere near that. I seen another silly article as well the other day. I think it was IGN who misread something as well and said that Bobby Kotick was going to get £15 million if he turns the company around underneath Microsoft. I said, no, that the actual document doesn't state that. It says,
No, he's
if
gone.
Bobby
That
Kotick
guy's
improved it
gone.
by
Yeah.
June or July. And it didn't say this year or next year. It just says by June or July. Of course, they misread it. It just simply states he's going to get a payment. Or Microsoft have to pay him $15 million as a compensation. Oh no, I'm sure Microsoft are really bothered about £15 million to get rid of someone like Bobby Kotick.
Well, he's a monster, that guy. I mean, there's
Exactly.
no doubt about it.
You know,
That guy's
Dutch,
basically the devil.
I just
Yeah.
want to throw something in quick when you're talking about the NDAs and stuff like that. I deal with NDAs with Ubisoft, okay?
Yep.
And those things are no joke. And
They're-
all I'm dealing with now I can actually officially say that I've been dealing with like Splinter Cell and Assassin's Creed, okay, and games like that. So, like, can you imagine something of that scale?
Oh God, yeah.
I'm terrified to mention anything to like my neighbor. Okay, can you imagine? Like, it's not like they're listening to me on a satellite. Can you imagine something when you're dealing with the Department of Justice? They're not talking to Mr. Pachter about this.
Nope.
Yeah. Mhm.
That's what I'm trying to say. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I just was trying
No,
to get
no,
that out there
you're
because I do
absolutely
sign
right, and-
NDAs, right? So
Yeah, exactly right. And again, same for mine. Like mine's not even to that equivalent. I'm an energy broker, so mine revolves around multiple companies and sites and what they're doing and their expenditures, etc. Financial NDAs on my side, so it's a little bit different again, as opposed to product NDA. But same applies. Not again. It would revolve around some form of jail time, if not some form of criminal lodgings against
crazy.
me. And of a deal of that value and of that size, 80 billion, that's not just criminal, like you say, it's federal crime. That's well beyond that. There's such a high value. It's going into would have a detrimental effect on the decisions of something if word were to get out X, Y, and Z about certain dealings. You just can't speak about it. So for him to claim he's got sources close to the, he hasn't got sources close to the deal. It's beyond ridiculous. Yeah, I think that pretty much sums it up. Beyond ridiculous is kind of the term his podcast should be called.
Well,
name,
listen, great stuff as always. Silent Cipher in the chat drops a very generous $10 super chat and says, such a killer panel. Boom. Awesome to see and listen to all of these awesome folks on a show after a long work day. Cheers all. Thanks for the content. Well, thank you for being here, brother. And we're glad that you're enjoying it. And of course, thank you for the very generous super chat. Let's bring in John Wolf. John, you've heard what everyone said so far, but I'm interested to get your opinion on Pachter's once again proving that he really does not know what he's talking about. I mean, again, this isn't really his putting his foot in the mouth situation is not even a suggestion. It's a fact based on what he's saying. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, Boom. Michael Pachter. What experience do I know about Michael Pachter? I remember him from the game trailer days when he had that Pack Attack show, right? That I remember being much, much younger. I think it was during the generation with the Wii, with the 360, that he would come out and he would, talk all this smart talk. And he was basically, like Kay Asante mentioned in the green room, the whole law of that generation, right? He would come out and he would say all these things that sounded fancy and smart and all that good stuff. What his track record was back then, I don't know, but it's fallen big time. This guy fell off harder than Shia LaBeouf after Transformers, brother. So that's and that's putting it lightly. Just to start with him though, dude, I mean, this is pretty common sense. If you're a financial advisor, you just gave Microsoft the worst financial advice that I've ever heard in my life. With some of these things that you're even entertaining, that the FTC is going to these stipulations that the FTC supposedly, according to him, is going to put on Microsoft. Let me ask you a question, Boom, and the rest of the panel. Let me ask you guys a question here. When Disney closed the $70 billion deal with Fox, did the Department of Justice tell them that they couldn't lock down Marvel? That they
Nope.
No, right? Did they say, hey, The Simpsons can't go to Disney Plus? The Simpsons has to be on Amazon also, Amazon Prime and all these other places. So I think that,
they did just one thing, John. They did force them to get rid of Fox News, but that's one of those things that they didn't want stinking up the brand anyway.
Okay.
Right.
So
and these are the things. They may be concessions, but Microsoft has to agree to it. And it would need to be something that they were going to do anyway. Like maybe you said, Mag, not raise the price on Game Pass for 2 years, 3 years, because they weren't going to do it anyway.
They weren't going to do it anyway, exactly. Yeah.
But go ahead, sorry.
No, thanks, everyone. That's good, useful information. But the way that I see it, right, it's like Pachter is like he's trying to become the spokesperson for all of these pro Sony fanboys with their, ludicrous ideas and all these gatekeepers that for the longest time have wanted to make this deal not come true. I've seen articles and I haven't seen so many people pushing for this deal to fall through in anything that I've ever seen. And it's funny, right? Because it's Michael Pachter. This is a playbook from 2013, brother. And, I haven't been on YouTube for a long time, Boom. So I really didn't have a voice around the 2013 timeline when everybody was pounding on Microsoft. But this playbook is old, Michael. This is a very old playbook to be anti kind of Microsoft. And not that he's doing it in that way. He's not doing it, to poo-poo Microsoft or anything like that. But just, just the very notion that you're putting basically handcuffs on a company when you're predicting this, and like Boom, like you said, that it's very matter of fact. Like it just goes to prove that you don't know what you're talking about, dude. Like, why would Microsoft agree to all of these stipulations that you're putting in place to basically not be able to make any money off this deal? If they're going to put these many stipulations in place, like I mentioned in the green room, just say no. Just for the FTC, it's better just for them to say no and not let the deal go through. You know what I'm saying? So in a way, for him to kind of make it be and decorated in the way that he went about it, I thought it was very 2013-ish, Boom, to be honest with you.
100%. Yeah, it's again. I don't know what he was thinking, and the way he was so confident in his speech about it suggests to me that he used to be someone that you could trust. Certainly, there's room for him getting maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago during the era of the Xbox One, PS4. He would get some things right. This is a bad take. That's the bottom line. It's a bad take, and for him to get out there and put this for everyone to see, I'm actually quite shocked. Let's get Everborn Saga, your opinion. Everborn, you know about business because you own quite a few yourself, and you and I were talking about this privately. When I told you about this, you had a lot of fire built up. I would imagine you're going to bring that fire now to talk about it.
Yeah, so I also happen to work in finance, and I'll tell you something about a lot of the finance guys that I meet. They don't know anything about the gaming industry. So it doesn't surprise me that they keep going to Mr. Pac-Man about for advice on where it's going and what it's doing. So again, it really comes back to the FTC can ask for whatever they want. They cannot force. So at the end of this deal, when it closes, if it closes, it will be that Microsoft agreed to do something. And the question is, we have to ask ourselves is, in what world does Microsoft say that, unless they were already planning to do this, that the publisher that they bought to create exclusive high-profile titles for their subscription service, which they have labeled as the future of their business, which will thrive based on the exclusives they can offer, that they can no longer do that, right? The FTC can say whatever they want, and they're not saying that, right? So I don't want to say that the FTC said that, or the DOJ said that, but if they did say that this Activision Blizzard deal would stifle competition, guess what? They'd actually have to prove that. People think it's a rubber stamp where it's like, oh, the FTC said no, so I guess we can't do it. That's not how this thing works, right? They would make their case, and Microsoft would make the FTC would make their case, Microsoft would make their case. And it's not just the FTC we're dealing with. We're talking about that now, but there are 17 locales that this thing has to go past. And Nick's in the chat said something very interesting. People give the FTC and DOJ too much credit, right? Like we're very quick to say that, you know, politicians are stupid, or politicians are corrupt, or they don't know what they're doing in Washington. And then we say, when it comes to the DOJ and FTC, they've got it all figured out, and whatever they say goes. We don't live in, if you live in America, right? We don't live in a country where that's the way that works, right? If they want to stop this deal, they would have to prove that it will be in the best interest of competition, right? And tell me what's in the best interest of competition. Preserving the natural order of things with the people who are in first place, raising prices and charging you for cardboard? Or is it introducing another player who will force the people who are at the top, who are raising prices, to now create more value to win your dollar? Right? So what was happening is we're not really getting competition because of the content that's, and I'm not saying, you know, Sony and Nintendo don't deserve the place they have, right? But I am saying that with Sony's market share, they are able to secure exclusive content and take it away from people who are not on their platform. And if we're saying that that's okay for competition, but you know, securing content by purchasing a publisher isn't, It's because that we want things to stay the same and we want them to be the status quo. And we don't want any challengers. So if Microsoft doesn't do this, who is going to come in and be able to challenge Sony or Nintendo? Somebody tell me.
That's a great point.
Who comes in and challenges and shakes up the order of things without an acquisition? You could say maybe it's not Microsoft. You could say it's Tencent. You could say it will be Amazon or Facebook. But how will they do that without making a large purchase?
And do you think the DOJ would want the Chinese government to be the only competition?
That's a big no.
In a North American market?
So let's really sit back and think about Microsoft, like the DOJ, and I don't think they would say anything like this because they don't care, right? Like they want to know that you are stifling competition, and I'm sorry, you're not. And by the way, I know we say monopoly a lot, but I think it hurts our argument when we say monopoly because the question was never, is it a monopoly, right? That's not what the question is. The question is, will the deal stifle competition?
Yeah, the monopoly thing was just
will it hurt customers
by fanboys? Really, that it was never anything to do with monopoly. You're right.
Right. So, but this is what I'm saying. We're smarter than the troglodytes, so we shouldn't say monopoly either, right? So the question is, does this hurt customers? Does it hurt employers, or does it stifle competition? And if the answer is no to all of those from any sensible person, in what world does the deal get blocked?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And again, I'm not saying that there won't be any decrees that made it look like the DOJ said something, because spoiler alert, that's how these things work.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert, that whole App Store bill, it was probably Microsoft lobbyists in there that helped them write that. Spoiler alert, when they do make a decree, Microsoft will, say, I mean, we could accept not raising the price on Game Pass for another 2 years because we already weren't going to. But hey, Lena Khan, sure, you want to get that win? DOJ, hey, you want to get that win? Sure. And we'll all shake hands. You'll look like you did your job. We'll pretend we played along, and then everybody goes, and the palms will be sufficiently greased. And I'm not saying anything untoward or illegal is happening. I'm just saying there is no world where, and I'm not saying this means Microsoft won't make COD multi-platform and treat it like a Minecraft. That's not what this is about. This is, will the Department of Justice or the FTC say or force Microsoft to make not only Activision Blizzard King Spyro? The federal government is going to force Microsoft to keep Spyro multiplat. That's what we're saying.
Yeah, Everborn. Right? But another thing, right? Like the way in the comments that Pachter's making, he's even bringing up the old deal with Bethesda.
With Bethesda, yeah,
right.
Yeah, like why? Why is that even in the conversation?
Retroactively go back and do anything about that.
Right, and this is the point, because if that's what you're going to do, why stop there? Remember, the Bungie deal still needs to go past regulators. It's a $3.5 billion deal. It's more than $100 million. It has to get approved in the US, in the EU, and wherever else Bungie operates. So are they going to say then, hey, Sony, you bought Insomniac, Spider-Man, you're going to have to retroactively say that all the exclusives are illegal now, right? Yeah. Is that a law that we think is going to go on the Senate floor?
Exactly.
In the House of Representatives?
Exactly. Can you imagine if Pachter, because it wouldn't surprise me if Pachter would have included in his statement, all future Call of Duty games can't be playable on the Series S, because it's ludicrous. The things that he's putting on there are idiotic.
Yeah.
Listen, as a matter of fact, like you said in your video earlier today, Mag, why stop there? Why not just say they're not allowed to release it on the Xbox?
Yeah, exactly.
We're saying bullshit.
See, and that is why That is
Exactly.
why I say he himself, Pachter specifically, is a PlayStation dude, because
Exactly.
he goes far beyond the seeing of the tea leaves, the reading of the tea leaves, far beyond the money matters, and basically makes like what do you call it, console warrior issues his issues. So that tells you he plays there and he doesn't like a certain thing. And the fact that Elder Scrolls is not coming to PlayStation bothers him. So he's using using his pulpit to basically voice his frustration. Has nothing to do with, like, actually, hey, I'm a reputable source, follow me, I'm a person you should listen to. No, he happens, just like Hogue Law, right? Hogue Law is a great lawyer who's also a gamer. This dude was an analyst who's a gamer, right? And when that happens, you get people saying what they want to say about the games they like. Now, in Hogue's case, he likes to keep it very even-keeled and very much statement of fact, right? And unfortunately, we have Pachter, who clearly, with every word he says, you can kind of see his bias on display. So,
I have not been following Pachter that much, so I will give Pachter the benefit of the doubt.
You should just type in Pachter and start reading and watching all the various clips that caught fire. It's been a while. He's been doing this.
So I'm going to ask Slow-Mo after we get off this show who he thinks has more bad takes, Michael Pachter or me, because he says I'm the king of bad takes.
I think Pachter's got you beat, brother.
Now, the question is, well, not the question. I will give Pachter the benefit of the doubt because I have not followed much of what he has said in the past. However, let's say he is not as juvenile to not be able to tell what his counsel preference is, to tell the difference between his counsel preference and his actual advice towards the industry. I think he says things like that because we're all saying Michael. How many times did we say Michael Pachter in this episode?
Probably
right? Exactly. That was the purpose of it. Forget about counsel warring.
Yeah.
It's free advertisement. And now people are going to go to his YouTube channel or his Twitter or whatever to hate listen or hate watch and wait for him to mess up again and then say, gotcha, bitch. But the thing is, I like that's what I think this is about. And we, again, I'm happy to talk about it, but we have again fallen for his trap. But it is a worthy discussion because people in the community are running with it, and people, I think, or I hope, come to us to talk sense on Monday nights.
And that's why Everborn. That's why I went into the details of that 2013 strategy. That's when it was cool to talk bad about Microsoft, and all the ratings and all the media outlets were getting all the clicks and all that stuff. And apparently he thinks that tactic is still relevant in today's age.
But it worked. The thing is like the more he keeps speaking on this, and like if he's getting into this whole fanboy rhetoric where he's making up random claims and things, yes, he's going to get loads of clicks and blah 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 blah, etc. etc. But that's at the end of the day, it's does he believe in his credibility, or does he believe in clicks? Because if he's an actual analyst, or if he takes his job seriously, or any job he has had seriously, then the credibility is something that he should value more over the 100%. Clicks that he gets.
Yep.
Otherwise, his name's not worth anything in the industry anymore, and that's the problem he's going to have. And as creators like us, we also want that credibility more so over clicks, because if it doesn't, if you don't have that base in which people can actually trust what you say and listen to what you say with some form of credibility, then you're just going to go by the wayside. You can get the clicks all you like, but it's not going to value anything.
So real quick, for those who don't have the history of Pachter's like blunders, here's a quick rundown, real quick. Assassin's Creed 2 would go to the 1700s and they'd take Altair would return. That didn't happen. The PS3 generation would be the last generation ever.
Wow.
Okay.
That cell processor was really powerful, man.
This one's a rich one. Xbox One would outsell PS4 by 75,000 units by 2014.
Wow.
GTA 5 sales numbers would blunder. These are some of his. Hey, I bet I'm gonna be right, and then obviously he's not right, and crickets.
So this is good, man. This is good for the deal. If he said all these things, it's good for the deal. Then.
Oh yeah. He's just trying to, a broken clock is right, twice a day. He's hoping that this is the time when he's right. He's probably wrong, but it is what it is.
Yeah, well, I mean, listen, we had a great conversation this evening. We are closing in on the end of the show. I want to thank a couple of people who dropped super chats. Elemental PO, good friend of the show, he drops a $5 super chat and says, "Evening gamers and gents. All I have to say, gentlemen, is thank God for VRR on the Xbox. Indeed." We also have Pragmatic Eagle, good friend, generous friend of the program. He drops a $10 super chat and says, "It's not their job to say no. It's their job to ensure laws are followed. The deal is legitimate, legal, and the deal isn't a monopoly. For example, when they denied the T-Mobile AT&T merger a few years ago. And yeah, they just and of course that semiconductor company that would have literally been the only people making semiconductors. They could charge whatever they want. They did stop that deal. We also have Silent Cipher.
But hey, just one thing about that though, and
Yes.
and a lot of people like to sort of use those instances, but context is everything, right? AT&T was a major player in the market at that time. But
Yes,
they still are. It's like Verizon and AT&T. Those are the number one and number two. So if T-Mobile's going to merge with AT&T, then there's less players in the market. Right. However, when two smaller people get together, T-Mobile and Sprint, what happens?
Yeah, there you go. They become
right?
one big one.
So, and this is the thing. And now that combined two smaller companies can now compete more effectively with the people who own the market because of market share.
Yeah.
Right. And that's really what this is going to amount to. Or at the very least, that's what Microsoft's lawyers are going to argue. And I have a feeling they have pretty good lawyers. I don't know. It's just a hunch.
Yeah, no, indeed. Silent Cipher drops a $5 super chat, additional $5 super chat, and says, "Just like I mentioned when Adam Conover was blasting Microsoft recently, Pachter enjoys the clicks. He believes any press is good press for him. I disagree because I wouldn't put my money and invest in his opinions because he's an analyst and he gets paid for it. I'd be running the other way. But listen, ladies and gentlemen, that is your show. Big thank you to everyone that tuned in. We had over 350 people here on a Monday evening. I hope that you enjoyed it as much as we did. Let's get everyone out of here. And we'll start first with the Mag. He's got to bounce momentarily. Mag, by all means, tell everyone where they can check you out on social media and check out this new video, which somehow or another I missed.
Well, you better check it out after the show, Boom, because I put it up there. I put it up there. It was pretty funny about Michael Pachter, actually. And I just couldn't help it. I mean, it was inspirational. But anyways, guys, you guys, everybody on the show, you guys already know where to follow me. John Snow, it was wonderful doing a show with you. And panel, you guys are amazing as always.
Are you trying to say he doesn't know anything? What was that about? Come on now.
And Asante, I can't wait to see you on Elden Ring this week. Look forward to that with that shaking head of yours. Anyways, listen, guys, it was a great show. You know where to find me on Twitter. You know where to find my videos on Twitter. And, of course, you'll find me here every Monday night, 7 p.m. Eastern, on this very show, Primetime Gaming with Mr. BoomStick XL and friends. And guys, I'm a super busy man, so that's all I'm doing in that realm. So, but keep an eye open. I might have an even more ridiculous video coming out tomorrow. And my God, I don't know where I get the balls to do this new one, but I just did it anyway. But anyways, guys, everybody have a great night. We'll talk during the week and chat. We'll see you guys all next Monday night. Have a great night, everyone.
Yep, no problem, brother. Thank you for being here. Real quick, Splendiferous in the chat drops a very generous $2 super chat and says, "No slander tonight, Everborn. I haven't even heard Sonic." So Everborn Saga.
It's only because I was late. There would have been some Sonic in there.
Yeah, well, listen, I mean, they're not yet associated with Microsoft, but that could change. Tell everyone about your brand. Tell them about your new Kickstarter that's going to be starting soon, and where can people reach out to you on social media?
Well, before we get to the next Kickstarter, let's finish the last one. If you supported the campaign this weekend, you got your digital reward. So you can read everything in the Everborn saga right now. Just be sure to check whatever email you supported the campaign with. Everyone's digital comics were sent out, and we are beginning this week ordering our physical prints. And as soon as those come in the mail, we will get them out very shortly in the coming weeks. So I want to get everyone those books. And also, Ariel's Adventure is now available on Amazon.com. Nice. So you can look for Everborn Ariel's Adventure. That was the book from our first Kickstarter. And I recommend that for anyone that is not living in the United States. But if you are living in the United States, go to everbornsaga.com because you will get a signed copy sent directly from me and signed with this thing here. So we're doing the whole. This is from Paris. Yeah. So anyway, everbornsaga.com, Everborn Saga on Twitter and YouTube and Facebook. Sorry, Facebook, Instagram, Oculus Quest. I'm not calling it Meta. I'm sorry, Cog. And Xbox, PlayStation, and Steam. And I will be on Elden Ring. And don't try to jump into my game. I won't let you.
I got to figure. I got invaded a couple of times and killed. Someone told me that
was
you
it
could
King?
Get rid of that.
Was it King David?
No, it wasn't King David. It was
because
he
a-holes. Said it's Juke season. He's just coming in people's game to rob their runes. So you got to watch out for King David.
I got to figure out a way to shut that off because I got killed a couple times by probably someone that, because I hate to say this, folks. Don't tell them Boom said it. Snob purists. I mean, snob purists. Purists of this type of game, they're all snobs. They feel that we shouldn't be playing these games, but don't tell them I told you.
They don't want you to use magic, all of these things.
Since you finally connected to this series, playing this as much as you have, would that make you a snob now too?
No, not at all. Because I wouldn't go into someone else's game and rob them. I find it to be wrong in many, many ways. But anyway, Keosante, let's sell your brand, brother. You had a great show this Saturday. I want you to talk about it. Talked about some very heavy topics. It was done in the best and most professional way possible. A lot of really good conversations came out of that. Tell everyone about the Gaming Circle podcast on Saturdays at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And where can people reach out to you on social media?
Yeah, Boom. Thank you so much. Yeah, we had a great show over the weekend.
Delilah HD.
Yes, Delilah HD was able to join us. It was really cool. And she did even during a day where she was hosting her own show as well. So we appreciate her making the time to come and visit with us. We had some good conversation. I've been, as most people know, I've been playing Forbidden West for quite some time now. So it's spurred some thoughts in me. So I thought we'd have some conversation. It was a good conversation to have. Yes, I see all this Elden Ring stuff. I'm gonna get to it eventually. I just want to wait until a few patches. I think I heard there was a patch released recently, like today, if not mistaken. So
was it 1.05? Is that out? I know 1.2 was the day one patch, but is there?
No, I think there's another one that was released recently, like today, if not yesterday. I was reading that. So if it's a bit more stable on the Series X, because that's where I will choose to play it, I will most likely jump in, and you guys might see footage of me dying a lot on there as well. So yes, thank you guys so much. Weekends, you can find me on the Gaming Circle podcast, 10 a.m. On Saturdays, Eastern Standard Time. I have a few ideas for guests coming up in the next couple of weeks. We might be doing something interesting. So keep an eye out for our goings on there. TKO Asante on Twitter, Xbox, PlayStation, everywhere where you want to talk to me. And I appreciate you guys being here as usual. See you guys next week.
All right, brother. Thank you so much. Wandering Dutch, let's get you on out of here, brother. Tell everyone about what you got going on this week. What about you got going on with the indie scene, and where could people strike up a conversation on social media?
Definitely. Awesome show as always. Some great topics. And, of course, awesome guests. John, great to be podcasting with yourself, brother. Of course, you can find me on Twitter and on YouTube at Wandering Dutch. We are doing a little bit more on the streaming side recently as well. So a lot of game streaming, community games like we did last night, again, with Halo. Of course, we have our podcast every Wednesday and every Sunday, the Midweek Mix-Up podcast. This week, I do believe it is this Friday, I'll be on ACG's podcast as well.
Nice, dude.
Other than that, of course, as mentioned previously, we have the big indie showcase that comes in April. And of course, we're working with some awesome creators, including Asante and Mr. BoomStick, on bringing this awesome indie showcase to yourselves. So that's huge upcoming indie games, not just this year, next year, or already released, showcasing the best of indie essentially and what's to come or what's already out. And of course, we'll be having some surprises in there as well. So that's going to be awesome. But yes, that is me. That's where you can find me. Awesome show. Again, people, I look forward to see you all again next week.
Yeah, thank you for being here. And last and no way least, special guest of the evening, Jon Snow. I almost said
Snow.
Let's
make it official, right? I'll just
make
make
it Jon Snow. Listen, John, obviously you've been doing some great interviews. You're doing some one-on-ones. I want people to funnel over to your channel, give you some subscribers over there. You just hit a bit of a mark for yourself that you were very happy for. Talk about your YouTube channel and talk about where can people reach out to you on social media.
Yeah, thanks, Boom. Thanks for inviting me on tonight's show. It's been a pleasure to talk to everyone on the panel. Wandering Dutch, first time, dude. I think that you're competing with Jason Ronald for the best beard in the business. You know, you're right there, brother. You're right there. So, so Kay Asante, man, it's good to talk to you always, man. You were actually my first guest on the show. Everborn, I'm gonna work on getting you on one day, brother. I'd like to get to know about.
Just say the word.
Awesome, man. Awesome. And yeah, Boom. So my YouTube channel is John Wolf. You can look up John Wolf Xbox. You'll find it on there. That's also my gamer tag and PlayStation gamer tag as well on there, John Wolf. And I'm working on getting Tim Dog, Boom, actually to be on the show. We're trying to work out logistically trying to figure that out. And yeah, Boom, the show, I like to do an interview, you know, kind of like sit down and just have a one-on-one, kind of like a bar setting, you know, a couple of dudes over talking video games over a drink. That's kind of like the style that, you know, the mood I like to get in. And yeah, Boom, thanks a lot, man, again for the invite. It was fun talking about the pack attack tonight. He's probably the one that jumped on and stole your stuff there, Boom. So everybody,
he got his revenge.
for sure, man. Everybody have a good night. Have a nice weekend. I like to end the show with just sending out some prayers to everybody in Ukraine.
Yes.
You know, as Wandering Dutch mentioned when the show started, that's a bad dude out there that's looking to do bad things. So everyone, Ukraine has really inspired the world. I know that they've inspired me, seeing those men and women out there and even grandmothers out there fighting for freedom, guys. Let's not forget how blessed we are every single day.
Yep.
And, you know, that's it, guys.
Well, thank you for being here, brother. And a big shout out again to the 350 plus people that tuned in for tonight's new program. Of course, the super chats are fast and furious. I want to say thank you so much for helping support Double Barrel Gaming with these incredible gifts. Both in super chats and channel membership. Both Mrs. Boom and I like to pay it forward, and we have been doing so, and we will continue to do so this year with a couple of big giveaways that we have planned. And of course, I'm going to close out the show with something that's important to me, folks. Hopefully one day it'll be important to you. And that's something that my dad taught me with kids. And he said, son, treat others how you want to be treated. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules. And I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone. And we'll see you next week on the newest episode of Primetime Gaming with Mr. BoomStick and Friends.